everyone, and welcome to the first episode of You've Gotta See This, your guide to what's playing in theaters now and at home. I am joined by my co-host Blake. My name is Brad, and we are so happy to have you with us here on our first episode.
Yeah, it's super exciting to have our very own podcast with just the two of us where we can talk about new releases and get some great recommendations if you're not really sure what to see in the theater or what to watch at home.
Yeah, definitely. So the way that this is going to work is we're going to, just like Blake said, tackle some movies that are playing in theaters, check out some movies that are playing at home, whether that's on streaming services or at Redbox or wherever you want to rent your movies. So first up, we are going to talk about what's playing in theaters right now. So there's a bunch of really great things that are playing right now, but there's a couple of movies that just stand above the rest, if you ask me. The first movie that we are going to be talking about is a film called Parasite. Now, Parasite came out a couple of weeks ago and is still playing right now. So definitely, if you're interested in this movie, go and see it as soon as you possibly can, because it's not going to be playing in theaters for much longer. And this is definitely going to be an awards contender whenever the Oscar season starts coming around.
That's part of why we wanted to talk about this movie first, is because we noticed that not a lot of people would see it. It's not necessarily a big blockbuster movie or even a big awards movie that you would think of immediately, but it's incredibly important to see, and it is a very, very good movie and definitely worth your time. So definitely go out and support more movies like this, so we can get more movies like this in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So Parasite, for those that do not know, is about a lower class family who cons their way into the lives of a much higher class family. It's a social satire and very intense in moments as well. It balances humor and intensity very, very well. There's a lot of very dark humor in this movie, which I appreciate, and I think that it is done just masterfully by Bong Joon-ho, who is an incredible director. He did films like Okja and Snowpiercer. Those are probably his two most well-known films. He also did the film Memories of Murder, which is one of my favorite true crime films of all time. Just a really, really talented director. You've got some incredible cinematography from Kyung Pyo-hong, who also shot Snowpiercer and the movie Mother for Bong Joon-ho. So these guys have worked together before and definitely have a sense of what they want to accomplish. This is definitely a movie that seems like a singular vision that is executed so perfectly by everyone that's involved. You can see that Bong Joon-ho's direction is just on point because of how great the actors are, how great the score is, how great it's edited. Every single aspect of this movie is just perfection to me. Got an unstoppable performances from the entire cast, the entire Kim family, the entire Park family, the Park's maid. Everyone in this movie is just on their A game. There's an incredible score from Jiao Zhang, who also did the score for Okja. So another person that's worked with Bong Joon-ho. And like I said before, you can tell that this is just the work of a master director. He knows exactly what he wants from everyone involved, and it just comes through on the screen. Blake, what are some of your thoughts on the strengths of Parasite?
Yeah, well, on that note, the biggest strength to this movie for me is the intent. I love whenever a master director directs something that they're passionate about and a storyline and a social issue that they care about, because it comes across so obviously. It's the intent in it, the way that it's shot, the way that it's edited, the way the visual storytelling in it, without even using a lot of dialogue in the beginning, just to show you how low class they truly are and show the stark contrast between the upper class and the lower class. This movie takes a lot of twists and turns. It is incredibly engaging from start to finish. It is never boring for a second. The acting is phenomenal. This is top tier talent right here across the board. I could see anybody getting nominated. It's movies like this that make me want to think they should have an ensemble category for an Oscar, because this would absolutely take it. Definitely. I think that Bong Joon-ho will be nominated at the end of the year for Best Director. He should be. But getting out of the awards talk, to me, this movie is a masterpiece through and through. Movies don't affect me like this movie affected me. I left the theater revitalized in my love for movies, and that only happens once a year, once every other year, every 3 years maybe. This movie made me come out and say, I love movies so much again. Like, it just completely revitalized it. Made me want to dig deeper into the other movies that he's made that I haven't seen yet. It made me want to dig deeper into the other actors and see some of the other Korean films that I haven't seen that are holes in my movie knowledge. So yeah, this movie I think is a true masterpiece in its execution of symbolism specifically. There's a theme in 2019 between Jordan Peele's Us, Todd Phillips' Joker, and now Bong Joon-ho's Parasite of class warfare and kind of showing a light on the darker parts of society and the darker characters that we create through a society that is broken and keeps making poor people poorer and rich people richer. It shows the effects of that. And the symbolism in here, I think that it's the best executed in this movie out of those 3 movies this year. And those are 3 of my favorite movies this year. But the execution of that symbolism and to show you the stark contrast is so well done. It's perfect, and it's incredibly engaging. It is very funny too. It is a very, very funny movie until a certain point. So this movie is paced incredibly well. Also, it's over 2 hours long, and it feels like
2 hours and 12 minutes.
2 hours and 12 minutes, and it flies by. And it's in a foreign language. In case you didn't know that, in case we didn't mention that, it's a Korean film. It's in subtitles, and at no point does it feel like you're even watching something from another language. It just feels so natural in its transitions, and even showing the problems that are happening in Korea. They must be happening here because we have a lot of the same issues.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you hit the nail on the head whenever you're talking about the editing in this movie. It's so well paced, and not a single frame feels out of place. And to me, that's the true sign of a work of a master. And I think that Bong Joon-ho has done such a great job with making this film accessible to a bigger audience than just in Korea. It has, just like you were saying, it has issues that can be seen the world over. And I think that this film just has not left my mind since I saw it in theaters. And to me, that's the sign of a true masterpiece. Blake, do you have any other thoughts on Parasite?
No, I think I got them all out. Okay. It's really stayed in my head. Just to echo what you were saying, it's stayed in my head. I keep thinking about it. I love the themes in it, the themes of 2019 and filmmaking. It's very interesting, and I love that story.
Yeah, definitely. I am 100% on the same boat as you whenever it comes to Parasite, and I think I gotta give Parasite a 5 out of 5. It is a true masterpiece, and I know that's crazy to do on our very first episode, but we have a true masterpiece on our hands with this movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, I actually have to go 5 out of 5 as well. I know I had to think about that a lot. It's like, do I want to do that for the first movie, for the first podcast? But if it was any movie on this podcast, then it would have to be Parasite that's going to get a 5 out of 5. If it was any movie that came out this year, this movie gets a 5 out of 5.
Definitely. There are some other options playing in the theaters if Parasite is one that isn't playing in your area or just doesn't sound like it's up your alley. My pick for your honorable mention in the theaters is going to be Ford v Ferrari. I think that this film is amazing from start to finish. I am not interested in racing at all in any way, shape, or form, and this movie just was completely engrossing. It was, again, another movie that's well over 2 hours. This is a 2.5 hour movie, and it just flies by. It's really, really well directed by James Mangold. It's got a great script. Just 2 powerhouse performances from Christian Bale and Matt Damon, as well as Tracy Letts as Henry Ford II. Really, really great supporting cast in there as well. I can't really have any negative thoughts about this movie. It was a really, really fun ride from start to finish, and a really fun biopic.
Yeah, so any other week, this movie is going to be our number 1 pick to go see us in the theaters. Absolutely, because this movie is fantastic. I think that Bale again proves that he's one of the greatest actors of all time in this movie. I thought there was a surprisingly amazing child performance in this movie too.
Yeah,
from the guy
Noah
who played
Jupe.
Peter. This movie has great acting across the board, as you said, from Damon, from Bale, from Tracy Letts, John Bernthal. The little bit that he's in it is great. I'm not interested in racing either, but this movie made me want to go back and find out about more of the history of the racing and the history of the Ford v Ferrari and find out more of the true story of it, because it's fascinating. And full disclosure, whenever we saw this movie, the projector messed up, and then we had to go back the next day and finish it, and it still stood out to me as one of the best movies of the year. And whenever a movie can be stopped and then I have to come back the next day 24 hours later to finish it and it's still that good, that's a testament to how well it was directed and how good the pacing is, and overall how great of a movie it was.
Yeah, absolutely agreed, especially with the whole ordeal that we had to deal with, the movie cutting out on us in the theater. So what would you give Ford v Ferrari on your 5-point scale?
I give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5? Awesome. I am actually in the exact same boat. I think Ford v Ferrari is a 4 out of 5 movie. It's great fun from beginning to end. Not quite masterwork from James Mangold. I think that Logan is definitely his masterwork if we're talking James Mangold. But yeah, I think that Ford v Ferrari is definitely worth your time. And like Blake said, if it was any other week, if Parasite wasn't in the talks, then we would definitely be recommending Ford v Ferrari as our main recommendation. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about what's playing at home. So at Redbox this week, we had one of my favorite films of the year come out. I know it's one of Blake's favorites as well, called The Peanut Butter Falcon. Blake, tell us a little bit about the plot for The Peanut Butter Falcon for those that have not seen or heard anything about this movie.
So The Peanut Butter Falcon is a movie about a young man with Down syndrome who is in a assisted living facility living with mostly senior citizens. And he's obsessed with this one wrestling camp, and he keeps watching VHS tapes of it, and he always wanted to go there. He breaks out of the assisted living facility and comes across Shia LaBeouf's character, who is there by other means that I'm not going to let out in this review. The way that their stories are interwoven is fantastic. This whole movie is sweet. It is adorable from start to finish. It is such a heartfelt movie. There's so much emotion in it, but not sad emotion, not the kind of emotion that you would think from a movie like that. It's mostly uplifting, and there are hard things that they make you deal with, like people using the R word, and they deal with that in a very, very mature way, in a beautiful way. The acting by the main character, Zach Gottsaman, I think is his last name. Gottsagen. Fantastic. One of my favorite performances all year. Shia LaBeouf, again, proving to be amazing in these smaller indie roles where he's taking these weird, dirty, slimy characters, but that have a lot of heart to them. This is absolutely one of my favorite movies of the year. I think that the direction, I believe it was directed by 2 people. Yeah,
Tyler Nelson and Michael Schwartz.
And they are fantastic. I'm going to definitely look forward to everything that they put out coming out in the next couple of years. I want to see more work from them, because this movie it's never boring. It is always, it's very exciting too. It is hilarious. This movie has some of the biggest laughs of the whole year, from comedy or otherwise. And I think you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just echoing what Blake said, it has an amazing cast with Shia LaBeouf, Dakota Johnson, Bruce Dern, again, John Bernthal, having a really great year, John Hawkes, Thomas Hayden Church, and then led by brand newcomer Zach Gottsagen. He is such a gifted actor. He has perfect comedic timing, and it is hilarious. Almost every line that comes out of his mouth is delivered so perfectly and so hilariously, in contrast with the kind of hardened character that Shia LaBeouf plays. He's hardened but empathetic. He understands where Zach comes from, and they kind of get each other in this really beautiful way. It's another movie that balances being intense with both of them kind of being on the run, one of them in a much more dire situation than the other, but they kind of meet in the middle, and it balances that intensity with the sweetness of their friendship developing and the journey that they take together. I think that you're absolutely right. It has some of the biggest laughs of the year, some really great improvisation in this movie. It's just an incredibly satisfying journey from beginning to end, and it has such a satisfying ending too. It's just a really, really deeply moving film, and it's full of so much heart and fun, and I can't recommend this movie enough. I got to give The Peanut Butter Falcon a 4.5 out of 5.
We are dead on 3 for 3, because I'm going 4 out of 5 as well for this one. It's fantastic. I don't see anyone not enjoying this movie. It's for children. It's for older people. It's for any person that likes movies. Or just wants to have a good time for an hour and a half. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So an honorable mention, if you've already seen The Peanut Butter Falcon, or if it doesn't sound like something that you would like, check out The Farewell. The Farewell is this amazing, amazing film that came out earlier this year from A24 Pictures, one of my absolute favorite production companies. I think that just about every film that they've released is a must-see movie. They've had a few missteps, but for the majority of them, I would say that A24, if I see that before a movie, I know that I'm in for something at least interesting. But The Farewell follows a character named Billy, who has learned that her grandmother is sick and is dying. Now, in their culture, it is not really something to let the person know that they are dying. So they have to kind of keep this big secret from the grandmother as they all go to visit her in China. It's a beautifully told story with an incredible lead performance from Awkwafina and a really great performance from the grandmother as well, which was her acting debut. So these two are just phenomenal whenever they're on screen together. There's just so much chemistry between all of the family members, some really great belly laughs in this movie, and also really, really sad moments as well that are just handled so well for such a sensitive subject matter. I think that The Farewell is one of my top 10 favorite movies of the year so far, and it's half in English and half in Chinese, maybe more than half in Chinese. So if that kind of startles you, if you're not big into foreign films, just know that there is some English in there, but it just absolutely flows by. It's one of those movies, just like Parasite, where you don't even notice that you're reading subtitles. The story just unfolds in front of you in such a beautiful way. Blake, what do you think about The Farewell?
So for me, The Farewell, just to echo what you were saying, it's a very, very sweet and loving movie for dealing with such dark subject matter. It deals with death and fate in such a respectful and loving way, as the Chinese culture do. My favorite aspect of this movie was how much I learned about the Chinese culture. It was, for someone who doesn't know hardly anything about it, I haven't seen a lot of Chinese movies, I don't know a lot about their culture, I didn't learn about their history. This movie gave me a little bit of a glimpse into what life might be like in a family dynamic. And it's beautiful. This movie, you can tell it was made from a place of respect and care. So much care was put into this movie and so much heart was put into it. I believe it's semi-autobiographical from the writer-director Lulu Wang. Mm-hmm. Fantastic movie. Like you were saying, the chemistry in this movie, the chemistry between Billy and Nai is probably the best relationship that I've seen, the best chemistry I've seen in 2019. Every time they're on screen together, it's beautiful. It's giving me goosebumps just thinking about the movie right now. It made me cry a lot. It made me cry happy tears, sad tears. I definitely recommend this movie.
Yeah, for me, I've got to give a 4.5 out of 5 to The Farewell.
I'm going 4 out of 5 for The Farewell.
Alrighty. So, if you want a quick recap, we've got in theaters, go see Parasite and go see Ford v Ferrari. If you want to stay at home and watch some movies, check out The Peanut Butter Falcon and The Farewell. We will be back next week with a couple more recommendations for you. Blake, anything else to add?
So I just think that if you get the chance, if you have the time, if you have a couple extra dollars, go see at least one of these movies this week. It's going to affect you in one way or another. Support movies, support independent movies, support foreign films, and we're going to get more of them, and that will make the world and the movie world a better place.
Could not agree more. Thank you so much, everyone, for checking out our first episode of You've Got to See This. We will be back with more episodes in the very near future. We'd love to see you back then. Make sure to comment and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and let us know what you are watching at home and at the theaters. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next episode.